Okay, YouTube, I'm doing a video here on upgrading the shaft, the intermediate steering shaft, and the steering box on my 95 Ranger with a bunch of swaps, upgrades, lifts, you name it. We'll go over the vehicle, and then I'll show you what my ideas are to upgrade the steering shaft, because everybody knows these shafts are junk. Alright, so here's the vehicle in question. We have a 95 Ranger. We have a 351 Windsor swap in here. AOD transmission. This little ARB or Vi air compressor here for the ARB air lockers and filling tires. Not really a show vehicle. Really just set up to go wheeling with. You can see my 40-inch tires on the Hutchinson bead locks. We got the area here where the steering shaft resides. We got the vehicle. We've got the twin sticks there for the Atlas 4.3-to-1 transfer case. These axles are out of like a 79 F-150. I did a custom splayed 4-link. Got a fuel cell in the bed here. Sorry for the mess. It's always a work in progress. See that? Okay. Enough about the vehicle. That's pretty much it. I just let you guys know what I'm working on. So we'll go over the steering shaft. Okay. In the foreground in front of us here, you have the stock steering shaft. It's a piece of junk. We have ripped up rag joints. You can see the tear there. We have really loose, kind of hard to demonstrate, but the shaft itself is very loose. This thing wanders all over the road. Got sick of it and said, hey, we're going to do something about it. This shaft is out of like an 01 E150, E250s. I believe the E350s ran the same thing. Quite a bit better shaft. We got U-joints on both sides. Even a double cardan up here at the steering. Now, if you didn't have a 4-inch body lift like I do, you could probably just run this shaft. I believe, even though it's extended length, it's just maybe an 1.5 inches shorter than the Ranger one. You could just bolt this in a stock vehicle. Spline counts are the same. I'm actually upgrading the box to the same steering box. Came out of the E350. They have the 4-bolt steering boxes, which are a massive upgrade from what I understand. Anyway, that's a simple thing. I have to extend the shaft because I'm running a body lift and a bunch of other junk that is going to preclude that. My idea is I'm going to loosen it up here at the double D portion and figure out what we're going to dig into. So stop the video and not bore you with some of the details of that. Okay, something I just wanted to bring up in my process of swapping in the shaft. The boots that go into the firewall here obviously are slightly different. I've matched it up. This is the E350, E150 to 350, I believe, boot. It's going to require some trimming to get into there to fit, and I'll have to probably run some tech screws into the firewall just to give it a place to bolt onto. But as far as the swap goes, if you're complaining about that, you probably want to shut down and stop doing this right now. The reason why I had to swap it over is obviously the seal sizes are different. I like to have a good clean seal. I like factory components for the most part. When they do this kind of stuff, they engineer out a lot of stupidity that I don't have the capabilities of taking care of myself. But anyway, seal size is different, bolt pattern is different. This one's a little bit bigger, requires some trimming, no big deal. Anyway, that's where we're at with the process so far. Yeah, I'll continue. Okay, one detail I'm going to have to iterate on here is the fact that the end of the E350 shaft is a little bit different as it goes into the upper U-joint, which we're going to use the E350 is this, Ranger is this. Obviously I can't use this because it's a little goofy. So what I'm going to do is extend it with a chunk from the Ranger shaft. Okay, the reason why I'm grinding there is that profile, it's double D, but it's flat on one side. Very carefully and progressively grinding the shaft, one of the rounds off the side, to tightly fit into there. So I'm going to use that for my extension piece, which we'll detail later. But anyway, just a little detail I thought I'd bring up with you guys. Thanks. Bye. Okay, back to some more profile details. The D on Ford's D shaft is not quite standard. I did have to grind that down just a little bit to fit into this top double cardan Econoline series. I would say 97, 98 up would be the proper application anyway to get into that hole. So I ground it, everything slides in. Now sharp people are going to say, well, why'd you do the one with the hole on the end? I did that because that's the end I knew I could throw away if I screwed up. So we're going to cut this off, we're going to cut that off, we're going to grind it and get it fit. So I'll get back with you when I get that far. Okay, just a small detail that I'm going to lay out. So obviously I have my shaft cut. I have it ground down so the powder coating doesn't interfere with my welding. This is the preliminary stages. I'm just going to tack this together basically to make sure my alignment's straight. I'm using straight edges. And obviously this vice grip is a guide. I'm just going to tack it now and then double check my alignment. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so obviously I have tack welded this, double checked it for straightness. Obviously the tack welds aren't strong enough. We're not going to leave it like that. That's where the sleeve comes in. Put a sleeve in. Okay, weld it on both ends. Obviously everything's been cleaned up, shined up. Not rust interfering with or paint interfering with our welds. Anyway, we're going to buzz some welds on there. Happen to have a Lincoln SP175 Plus. I think if you have a 120 volt welder, you're probably pushing it unless you have an arc welder. Anyway, we'll weld her up and then we'll see how she looks. Okay, so here's the welded product. You can see how all my welds are flowed out. I don't have a bunch of gaps and splatters and crap like that. That's what you're looking for. Good quality welder, decent welder behind it. I have to make sure that's nice and strong and straight because this is the difference between me and going in the ditch. Anyway, that's it. It's welded up. I would put that in test structure if I had one. See how much torque it would take, but I bet it would take a lot, and more than likely break a U-joint or something before my welds would. Anyway, that's what you're looking for. No splatter welds, no oxidation, no pits or craters. Okay, just a quick overview here. On the right is the E series box from 1997 up. On the left is the stock Ranger slash F-150 slash F-350. A billion different applications use this box. This one sucks, it's wore out. Got a fair amount of slop in the sector shaft, which could be adjusted out. But anyway, it's time to move on. Pushing 40-inch tires sucks, and I'm going to get every bit of advantage I can. You see the 4 bolts versus the 2 bolts. And pretty much these things are identical other than that. Some of them did have a 36 spline versus 32 spline, I believe, output shaft. You gotta look out for that if you're trying to reuse your stock pitman arm, which may or may not happen here. We'll see. But anyway, that's it. Okay, one other little detail that needs to be done here is you need to grind a slot in to clear the cross bolt that goes under your upper U-joint to properly install this. I grab the U-joint. You can see that we have, apologize, I'll set the camera down for a minute. Grind it down until it just barely clears. In fact, I'm going to push that on just a little bit further. But anyway, you grind yourself a nice tight slot, put your bolt through, clamp it down, everything's nice and tight and secure. There you go. Okay, one little snafu you're going to run into is this sleeve needs to be pushed up further. Best way I found to do that is get a 1-inch wrench. Excuse me, 1 16 inches, or okay, one snafu you're going to run into, this plastic sleeve for the seal needs to be pushed up further towards the vehicle. Best way I found to do, get a 1 16 wrench or 1 1/8 wrench, and then use a hammer and strike about here, and it slides right down. Just a small detail. Okay, just an overview of the finished product. I managed to retain the factory E-Series van boot and seal, which is good to keep the crap out of your vehicle. Nice added benefit is we have a double cardan up top. Probably smooth out the steering a little bit. All of the welds and stuff are done. I'm not going to worry about painting this. Nothing else is painted, and it's going under the dash. Bolts right up to the box. These are really nice shafts. They actually have a spline. They have splines down here instead of some goofy formed stamp steel crap. Almost like a drive shaft, really. Pretty impressed with these newer E-Series shafts. I have a sneaking suspicion this would fit Rangers for many years. Probably the F-150s, but I can't tell you for sure. I think I paid $12 for the shaft at the pick-apart yard. And again, these things have a huge telescoping range. Mine ended up being too short because of my body lift, so I had to add the extension. But I truly would believe that if you had a stock Ranger, this wouldn't be an issue. You could probably bolt it in. But again, these are mods I had to do. Maybe not your problem, but definitely mine. And again, this probably is not DOT regulated. So for safety's sake, whatever you want to say, or liability's sake, I would say this is probably an off-road only application, which is where this Ranger spends most of its days. But again, stock Rangers probably just take the shaft with the slight modification of moving this plastic collar up to retain your proper seal. This boot isn't the same shape as the Ranger. I'm going to probably have to do some trimming, run some tech screws, stuff like that. But anyway, that's the long and short of it. I think this is a quality solution for Rangers, F-Series trucks, more than likely older ones. Probably any of the Ford products that have a square drive at the steering wheel end and a 29 spline input shaft steering box that can tolerate a shaft that's 27 inches long. That's the extended length of this. The stock Ranger one was 28.5. I added a couple, I added it up to get to be 31 inches just because I wanted to add even more for my body lift. But it's good to go, I think. Alright, well, I'm out. I'm going to put this in. Not going to waste my time making a video of that because if you don't know how to put in a steering shaft, you probably shouldn't be doing this. Alright, thanks. Bye. Okay, so here's an overview of what happened with the steering shaft. Here's its installed location. It's even able to reuse the E-Series boot. Just bolted right up to the bottom of the steering column here, nice and tight. Still have a couple of loose ball joints, but the steering is 1,000 times firmer than what it was. You can see from the movement here, very little. In fact, when I replaced a couple of rod ends in the suspension, that'll probably clean right up. Here it is in the engine bay. Again, this is a 351 Windsor. So it's definitely not a V6 or anything stock. It bolted up real nice. I actually have better clearance than the stock shaft because the stock shaft is a lot bigger in diameter and a lot sloppier because it's not spline, it's just a formed stamped steel piece. And just for reference, I have the offending rod end right here. It is just, you can hear it knocking. I'll have to replace that. Alright. Okay, that's it. I'm tired. I'm going in the house. Wrapping up. Try to get this video posted and see what happens. If you like it, leave comments, leave likes, whatever. There you go. Fairly simple. Again, I believe with a stock Ranger, the E-Series shaft would fit with the only minor modification of moving the cowl seal or the firewall seal plastic forward to get that to work. But anyway, it's in, it's working 1,000 times tighter. Now I just got to order the right power steering hose to allow me to hook up my power steering pump to this new box. Not going to go into detail on installing that box. It was pretty much a direct swap, other than the hoses. Anyway, that's it. So if that's helpful, great. If not, ask questions. Let me know what happens. Gotta head out. My little boy's back and go hang out with him. All right, thanks. Bye. Okay, YouTube, I'm doing a video here on upgrading the shaft, the intermediate steering shaft, and the steering box on my 95 Ranger with a bunch of swaps, upgrades, lifts, you name it. We'll go over the vehicle, and then I'll show you what my ideas are to upgrade the steering shaft, because everybody knows these shafts are junk. Alright, so